Hey guys, welcome to the Bioclean System channel. I know I've gotten a lot of questions about this from our guys locally. I'm sure many others have wondered about it too. Wondering how to replace the dash lights in the newer generation International 4300, 4400 series trucks. Looks complicated, but it's actually quite simple. And you only need a few tools to get the job done right. So let's take a look at what we need here. We're going to need a number 1 standard head screwdriver. We'll need a number 1 and a number 2 Phillips head screwdrivers. For sake of time, if you have the means to do it, I like the old power screwdriver. That works pretty good. The one I like is the snap-on because you can go forward and backwards just with a rocker switch, so it works really nice. You will be taking apart many different screws, and there's always a chance you can lose something. So I always recommend getting something small, a small cup. This obviously is just something from the top of a paint can to store those screws in. Works really nice. The bulbs. This is the bulbs that you're going to need. The sad part is, I believe you can only get these in a 10-pack, and it's a very little bulb. This is what the bulb looks like. I don't know if you can see that in smaller vision, but it's very teeny. And on the bottom of the bulb, there's a small little area that is the perfect fit for your number 1 standard screwdriver. So it fits right in there. You're going to need to turn that in and out to make it work. So let's go ahead. We're going to move over to the truck now, look at the dash, and just see how easy it is to actually take that apart. So let's take a look. Follow me. Okay, so now we're inside the truck. This is the part that gets intimidating, but it really shouldn't be. So let's follow on, see what happens. First step is taking apart this little surround piece. Pretty easy to do, actually. Looks complicated, but it's only held in by a couple clips. So what we do is we pull up on it. Look how easy that is. So we just pull up, take those little clips out of their little holders. Tricky part is just trying to maneuver that piece of plastic around, but overall it should be pretty easy to do. So once we get it out of here, take that, set it aside. Okay, so that's out of the way. So now we see the gauge cluster itself. Also looks complicated, but as we can see, it's only held in by a couple screws. One over here, one over on this side. And you may not be able to see it in the video, but this one has already been apart once, at least more than once, and they've lost the screws. So they put some aftermarket ones in here. They don't match. That's going to be very key because there are 10 screws behind this cluster that we're going to take apart, as well as these two. And it's good to actually keep them together in some sort of container, whether it be something simple like this cup, or there's some other items as well that we mentioned earlier. So we're going to put them together. As we remove them, we're going to put them into that cup. So step 1, this is where you might want your larger number 2 Phillips screwdriver. So let's take those screws out right now. Now the cluster can actually come out. So let's go ahead and take that. See how easy that just kind of maneuvers out. I found it easiest to take this side out first. So you kind of tip it forward, take it out, and then the other side comes out much easier. So now we just take it right out. You can see that once we put power to it, it lights back up again. So now if you turn the bulb on, you can see that these are all lit up, but these two on this side are not. Aha, interesting. So that could be a sign of a bad bulb, however. You see that one flickered back on when it was tapped. So it could be that the little element in there is just touching once in a while. And then as you go down the road, you might lose sight of that again. So anyway, so we know that those two are ones that we need to look at. You'll see that it is held in place by a harness that plugs into the back of it. So this is where the computer attaches. So you've got a little thing that you push down on. That allows that to release from the back of the cluster, and then you can move your harness up out of the way. Now this particular truck has a PTO control that's attached to the bottom, so you can see that those cords are still attached. Other trucks may have some other wiring and such that are down there, so maybe take a look at that first before you actually start tearing everything apart to see what you might need, where things might go, and so on. But anyway, so now we've got that cluster apart. Let's kind of flip it around here and take a look at those screws. Here are those screws. So we see 10 screws. You have these 4 on the outside, you have these 2 on the bottom, and then you've got 4 that are actually recessed. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're recessed into the board itself, and those can be a little tricky to take out. And now we can take those screws out very carefully. So those are our screws. So we very carefully pull these out because 3 of those screws we left in place. Let's set that aside. Alright, so now we come to, guess what? Our special bulbs. So we have one there, and multiple ones all over the place here for these gauges. So we're going to focus on these 2. These are the 2 that were bad. So this is where our smaller regular screwdriver comes into play. So what we do here for this one is you stick it in that little notch, push down a little bit, and turn it, and that will pop right back out. And bang, your bulb is out right there. This one looks like it's had some use. Let's go ahead, dig one of our new bulbs out of the package. Put it in play. Have to be careful so you don't strip the plastic on here. There we go. So that one slid in place. Move that harness out of the way. See the notch that it kind of slides into. There, you slide it. There we go. So now those are in place. So if we're wondering if we did good work, we could plug that harness back into it, and let's take a look just to see if everything's working. Look at that. They're working. Looks like it's working good. Let's remove that harness. Everything's working fine. Let's start to put that cover plate on again. Again, we have to be careful we don't lose these screws. And we've got those 4 that are already recessed in there. Let's take out one of the screws and maybe get the 4th one in there too. Probably the most difficult part is putting these in place here. It's hard to do this with one hand. I have to set it down, sorry. There we go. So now we got those 4 in there. So let's go ahead and carefully put this in place and get our screwdriver ready too at the same time. And this is going to be our smaller Phillips screwdriver, probably to get these started. Just want to get them started to begin with. Looks good. So, let's go ahead and reinsert that baby. So we rotate it around. And insertion is basically the reverse. But remember, don't forget the harness. Here it is. Plug it in. Lights up. Shows you everything's lit up. And you're ready to go. So let's go ahead and do the insertion. Lights off because I got bumped again. those 2 screws out that we used to fasten it. One up here. Here's a screwdriver. Got that one started. The last one over here. Wait. Good. So your dash is fastened in there, everything's working good. And now the last thing we have left is to put our surround back in. Of course, this is going to be a little bit tricky. Have to kind of tweak it a little bit, push it in the right spots. But it does go into place with just a little bit of effort. See how these clips, they slide into these little spots down here. And you've got the same thing on the other side as well. So let's go ahead and kind of maneuver it over in there. That's that. So the toughest part is maneuvering the plastic to fit it into those clips. But once that's done, it actually goes pretty nice. So that's pretty easy. You can turn the lights back on, make sure that everything works, which it does. Everything's lit up. So that worked out really nice. So it's pretty simple. Even a greenhorn like myself can handle it. So good job. Keep it up. I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye now.